Dr. Bronowski continues his study of the Ascent of Man next Wednesday at 6:25, when he traces the beginnings of chemistry. The Ascent of Man, a fully illustrated book based on Dr. Bronowski's television series tracing the history of man's progress, is available from booksellers. This is BBC2. 100 Great Paintings. This evening, the theme of grief is continued as Edward Mullins talks about the burial of the Count of Orgath, acknowledged as one of El Greco's masterpieces, and a portrayal of the society in which he lived. Tomorrow in this series, at the earlier time of 5 to 7, David Piper talks about Grunewald's Eisenheim altarpiece. In 5 minutes, Britain's Ray Keane meets the young West German chess player Eric Lobram in the Master Game. First, here's the news summary on 2 with Louise Batchelor.
Good evening. The American Secretary of State, Alexander Haig, is coming to London tomorrow to try to find a solution to the Falklands crisis. And the common market countries have been discussing ways of putting pressure on Argentina. In Southampton, the cruise liner Canberra is being fitted out for use by the Navy. Now this and today's other stories with subtitles. There are new moves this evening to find a peaceful solution to the crisis over the Falkland Islands. President Reagan has decided to send Secretary of State Alexander Haig to London and to Buenos Aires. The State Department said the situation was very delicate and Mr. Haig would be leaving for London tonight. In London, Mr. Francis Pym has made his first speech as Foreign Secretary and said that he hoped for a peaceful solution. But if diplomatic efforts failed, he said Argentina knew what to expect. Britain did not appease dictators. The House and the gallery were packed for this afternoon's debate. Mr. Pym was heard in silence and then loudly applauded. But MPs were quick to note the Foreign Secretary said British administration and not sovereignty in the Falklands. However, Mr. Pym replied this didn't mean any change in policy, and legally Britain was still sovereign. Mr. Tony Benn attacked the government on their handling of the crisis, and he said the task force should be recalled. The debate is still going on and will last until about 11 o'clock tonight. The EEC is increasing its pressure on Argentina, and the European Commission says it will impose a programme of sanctions. France, West Germany, Belgium and Holland have already stopped deliveries of weapons and military equipment. France has halted aircraft and anti-aircraft missile sales, including the Mirage fighter bombers. West Germany's foreign minister said they wouldn't sell arms to a country which violated human rights in taking the Falklands by force. Preparations of support ships for the task force are continuing, and the cruise liner Canberra has returned to Southampton. She'll be used by the Navy as a troop ship or hospital ship, and new equipment is already being installed. About 250,000 workers in the National Health Service Union COSI are to take industrial action over their 12% pay claim. The union says patients won't suffer from the dispute, but there may be a longer wait for some hospital treatment. The government is to introduce new legislation to protect our privacy from the misuse of computers. There'll be a public register of computer systems holding lists of people's names, and an independent registrar to see it works. But the General Secretary of the National Council for Civil Liberties says the law is too little and too late. The funeral of a young soldier who was murdered in Northern Ireland took place today at Oxford Crematorium. Rifleman Anthony Rapley, who was 19, died with the other soldiers in an ambush in Belfast last month. A British Film Institute report has said that television was not responsible for copycat rioting in the inner cities last summer. It says most youngsters heard about events through a youth grapevine, or that they were already out on the streets. The Princess of Wales has opened a new Sony television factory at Bridgend in Glamorgan. It was her last public engagement before the birth of her baby. The factory is the second stage of a project which Prince Charles inaugurated 8 years ago. And finally, a confectioner in Leicester has produced what's thought to be the biggest Easter egg in the world. It stands 11 feet high, weighs 3.5 tons, and has to be lifted by crane. The maker will be charging his customers £1 each to eat as much chocolate from the egg as they want. In Newsnight tonight at 11:15, we'll be looking at the new American attempt at mediation in the Falklands crisis, and at the big Falklands debate in the House of Commons. That debate, of course, is expected to end at 11 o'clock while we're on the air, so we'll have the very latest news. Also, John Stapleton will be reporting from El Salvador in the aftermath of the election victory for the right-wing parties. That's in Newsnight at 10:45. Now a look at the weather.
And it'll be a windy night with outbreaks of rain in many places, although by morning clearer weather will have reached most northern parts. Tomorrow the north and east of Scotland and northeast England will have sunny intervals and wintry showers, whereas southwest Scotland and Northern Ireland will be mostly dry, again with some sunshine. Wales, central and southern parts of England will start cloudy with outbreaks of rain, but brighter weather with only scattered showers will spread south to most places later. And it'll be colder everywhere. Well, that's how the chart looks tonight. On Easter Monday, BBC2 presents a special Easter musical treat, an evening with Andrew Lloyd Webber, with his guests pianist John Lill, singer Placido Domingo, rock star Susie Quattro, and dancer Finola Hughes.
Tonight there'll be no hesitate, no war. When you're with me, oh boy, the world can see that you were meant for me.
An evening with Andrew Lloyd Webber is on Easter Monday at 8:45. Chronicle, tonight at 8:10, investigates a civilization which grew up along the banks of the river Indus in Pakistan nearly 5,000 years ago. Professor Colin Renfrew examines the clues that have so far been discovered and tells the story of this enigmatic society. City of the Dead, Chronicle, here on 2 in half an hour's time. First, international chess, the master game.